The gender war is a psyop, and so is this baby bonus. I'm going to share something uncomfortable, and I need us all to sit with it before we react. The gender war that you keep seeing on your feed is a psyop. Yep. Not because women and men don't have real conflict right now. We do. But because the shape of that conflict, the way it's being sold to us, is engineered. And oddly, I think it will end somewhere good for us. Now. Just maybe not in the way anyone's selling it. Here's what I mean. We are being fed a narrative that men and women are natural enemies right now. That the sexes are sorting out into opposing camps. And I'm not going to pretend there's no real tension. There is. But look at who benefits from us seeing each other as opponents instead of people who structurally still need each other. Not always romantically, not in a non-platonic way. Some of us are going to find our people, our chosen family, our real support system aren't going to look like relationships that turn into a marriage or a partnership at all. That's okay. That's actually a lot more honest coming out of this moment. But meeting each other as a species, as neighbors, as community does not go away just because of discourse wanting us to pick a team. So here's my actual take. The more we see through the psyop, the more secure we get in our own direction as women, as a group, independent of whether a man validates that direction. That's the favorable outcome here that I mentioned earlier. Not because I want division, but because I want us to think clearly instead of reactively. And clear thinking is exactly what you need to hear what I have to say next. Because while we're being distracted, fighting culture war online, there's an actual policy conversation happening about our bodies. Women are having fewer children. That's a real documented trend. Birth rates are dropping. And instead of asking why, instead of asking about cost of living, healthcare access, childcare, the economy, so on and so forth, the response coming out of Washington has been a grab bag of incentives that range from insulting to almost satire. Let me read you the list of proposals. 1. A one-time $5,000 cash bonus paid after you give birth. Reports on this started circulating spring 2025. It was floated to the White House as one of several ideas to raise the birth rate, and Trump himself called it a good idea when asked about it. As of this recording, this is still a proposal, it's not a law. 2, a national medal of motherhood. For women that have 6 or more children. This one reportedly came out of pronatalist advocates who pitched it directly to the White House. 3, reserving 30% of Fulbright international fellowship slots, one of the most prestigious opportunities in the country, for applicants who are married or have children. Meaning, if you are unmarried or childless, you're now competing for a smaller share of an already competitive pool. 4, psychoeducation. Programs teaching young women and girls about ovulation and menstrual cycles, framed as fertility awareness. Now, to be clear, none of these have been formally enacted as a policy. These are proposals that have been pitched to the administration by outside advocates and are now under consideration. But that's almost besides the point, right? The fact that this is brainstorm, this is what solving the birth rate problem looks like at the top, tells you everything about the serious conversation that they're willing to have about our actual lived financial reality.
Quick disclaimer, dollar figures and averages can vary regionally.
So let's do the math that they didn't do. It's getting dim, so I'm going to try to hurry up. The birthing center delivery, which is already the cheaper non-hospital option, averages around $7,000 out of pocket for a lot of families. And this is if you even have access to this or if you choose that route. Standard hospital birth on the lower end costs around $14,000. On the higher end, upwards of $27,000. And this is before hospital stays, before complications, before follow-up. So, explain to me and explain to us all how a one-time $5,000 check is a serious incentive to giving birth when the birth itself costs 5 to 6 times that amount. This is not a policy, it is a rounding error press release attached to it. And a medal for having 6 children is laughable when the average person can't even afford one child. When the education being offered is about body processing, most of us have had explained to us since our first cycle, sometimes with more nuance than a federally funded program is going to offer. There are cases where people don't learn whatsoever. You know, that's a reality as well, but the government is not to be trusted, right? And I want to be fair here because, like I said, learning about our bodies does matter and our cycle does matter, and a lot of people don't get this opportunity. But we can't pretend that a government pamphlet on ovulation and menstrual cycle is what's standing between women having more children. It's money, and it's the cost, it's leave, it's childcare, it's healthcare access. Here's why I wanted to connect these two things, the gender war and the baby bonus, in the same video. Both are the same move. Take a real structural problem, economic precarity, disconnection, loneliness, whatever you want to call it, and repackage it as something that can be fixed by individual women making smarter decisions, right? Fight less with men or date more strategically, and the loneliness resolves. Have more kids for a flat fee, and the birth rate resolves. Neither one addresses the actual structure underneath it. And I'm not saying to not have children. I'm not saying don't work things out with the men in your life. What I'm saying is know the difference between an incentive that respects your reality, one that's betting that you're too tired, too isolated, too anxious to do the math. We are all naturally allowed to want connection platonically, romantically, communally, whatever form it takes up for you. And also refuse to be bribed into decisions that don't actually make our lives more secure. That's not cynicism, that's just reading the fine print. Okay? So if you take anything from this video, whenever a solution to a systemic problem shows up as a one-time check or a medal, ask who benefits from you not asking for the actual fix. If this resonates, leave a comment. And if you would like for me to break down any of the specific proposals in depth, tell me which one and I'll do a follow-up. Let me know. Peace until next time.
Like, comment, share, subscribe to Alchemy with Asia on all platforms. You can find me on IG, YouTube, and Substack.